competitors like MakeMyTrip and Yatra, their Q3 FY21 represents 46 and 44% of their bookings respectively. So demonstrating that we were able to recover faster in quarter 3 of FY21, which was October, November, December of 2020. The third point is it's not that we recovered faster only during the COVID times. We also have been growing very consistently. So if you look at our growth, CAGR growth from FY18 to FY20, we grew at 47% on annual basis, while MakeMyTrip had a 20% growth and Yatra had a degrowth. And the fourth point is it's not that we are just growing, we are growing profitably. You can see the net profit margin for us and for our competitors, and this company has been profitable since inception. So pretty much chart looks the same for us since we conceived this business. Now, since we have been growing pretty rapidly and that too profitably, we actually never needed to infuse external capital via equity, and the net debt on the company is also zero. So which would make us a very, very unique offering as a consumer tech business who is 100% bootstrapped and is at the gate of the IPO as we speak right now. To be honest, it'll be very hard for us to draw the parallels across the world, not just in India. Moving on. In this slide, I just want your attention on our air ticketing segment, where most of the points we have already covered. In air ticketing, around 19% of our business is international, which is severely hit because of the pandemic, and 81% is domestic. This was for FY20. And also in terms of split on the basis of our distribution channel, our corporate business is only 2.7, B2B is 10.7, and B2C, which is basically consumer business, 86.5%. And the chart on the left side, as you can clearly see that most of our revenues comes from the air ticket. We do provide all the options. You can use EaseMyTrip to book your bus, trains, hotels, holidays, air tickets, everything. However, majority of our revenues come from the air ticketing side. Hotel and holiday for FY20 was 5.4% of our revenues. However, you'd be surprised to know that this chart for FY19, in this chart, our hotel and holiday component was 2.7. So it jumped from 2.7 to 5.4 in a year's time frame, clearly giving you an indication that we have a lot of focus on hotel and holiday side for the future. I'll move forward. Okay, so since I mentioned that we give customers an option to not to pay convenience fees, and as we let go of such a line item, revenue line item, we had to focus on the cost part, and that is precisely what we have done. And that is the soul of the reason why this company is profitable. At the heart of it, we are a cost-cutting company rather than we are a marketing company. So, I'll explain this chart by a bit. So basically, these percentages are on the basis of our GMV. So customer promotion expenses basically means the discounts this company gave. MSP is the marketing this company did, employee expenses, and other operating expenses, which are admin expenses. Now, if you total this up for EaseMyTrip, it comes at 4.8%, which means in order to generate 100 rupee business, this company spent 4.8 rupees in these categories. I would like you to have a look for the numbers for themselves. Numbers speaks for themselves when you compare it with our competitors. And I'll give a 1 minute time for you to have a look at it before I move on to the next slide. Right. All right. Now, this is the COVID slide where we are addressing what exactly has happened during the COVID times and how we have recovered it. So the chart on the left side basically talks about how we have recovered on month-on-month basis. So basically, this is July 2020 when compared with July 2019. August 2020 compared with August 19. So when you look at the December number, of course, our international recovery was only 34% since there aren't that many international flights even till now. However, our domestic recovery came at 76%. But at the overall number for the quarter 3, we recovered at 70%, while our competitor recovered at 46% for their passengers booking. I'll move forward from this slide. In our RHP as well, you'll be able to find the reason why our recovery was slightly better. We offered customers using our cash reserves. We offered customers we refunded money to customers using our cash reserves even when we got money a little bit delayed from the airlines. So which generated a very good amount of goodwill for the company. This slide basically talks about that, okay, we started as a B2B company in year 2008, but now we are a fully fledged OTA where we even have subsidiaries in UK, UAE, and Singapore. Now, these subsidiaries are low cost center for the company where we are, and these are the places where Indian travel, right? London, Dubai, Singapore. Now, at these places, we have low cost centers where we have few people who are working on our payroll, and their job is to strengthen our supplies for holidays so that we can offer better holiday experience to come to consumers who are traveling in one of these countries. Moving on, over here, I would like your specific attention on our repeat transaction rate, which is at 85.95, practically 86%. What do we mean by that? So we have taken a 30-month period. In the 30-month period, if there were 100 people who have used EaseMyTrip, 86% of them would have used us more than once. So they would have paid us more than once. So that would tell you the kind of stickiness we have created in the system. And people keep coming back to us because this is the place where they find that they have an option to not to pay convenience fees. I'll move forward. In our strength part, I think we have already covered most of the things which Nishant has already mentioned. In technology part, I would like your attention on this 87.15%, which is of all the traffic, our mobile traffic for the last 9 months was 87.15%, which is very high, and which works in the favor of the OTA, where if you are using a desktop, then it becomes slightly easier for you to compare the prices. But if you're using a mobile, then it's a little bit cumbersome to compare the prices. Hence, mostly people who go to the mobile usually go and continue their booking. So that is why this number is important. I'll move forward. Over here, you can see that our mobile app downloads has been increasing. At the CAGR of 64%. It was at 1.6 million FY18, and now it is at 4.2 million. It was 4.2 million in FY20. Must have increased a little bit by now. And similarly, our web visits have been also increasing. So at both places, you can see that our customer acquisition strategy is working. Coming to the most important slide, the financials. The top left chart talks about our GMV. Now, our GMV has been steadily increasing. For FY20, our GMV was 4,200 crores. Because of the COVID year, our last 9 months for FY21, the GMV is at 1,220 crores. Now, coming to the most important part, the EBITDA for this year stands at, not for the entire, for the 9 months, our EBITDA stands at 43.4 crores. For the last entire year, it was at 49.9 crores. Now, 1 quarter is still remaining in this one. And also, our EBITDA percentage jumped for multiple reasons. I'll move forward from this slide. Now I'll come to what our key focus areas are for the future. Okay, so we have reached the second largest status now. What do we want to focus on? Well, of course, we want to sustain our air travel growth. We are growing, as you know, that we were growing at 47% on CAGR basis. We wish to continue our growth, and we are doing multiple things to accentuate that growth. And also our international bookings from FY18 till FY20 grew at 119.8% CAGR. So that was a very strong growth for our international ticketing. However, this year is going to be very lukewarm thanks to COVID. However, we wish to continue our international growth post-COVID once the vaccinations are rolled out. And we are getting more and more partnerships with the airlines and in agreements with them. Now let's talk about our hotel strategy. So at hotel, we do things pretty differently. We do have times with some hotels. However, we majorly rely on aggregators. So at the front end, the way you book hotel on EaseMyTrip is same as you would book on any other OTA. It'd be exactly the same from the customer's perspective, except you will have an option to not to pay convenience fees over there as well. Now, on the back end, the things are very different. We have tied up with 20 we have tied up with 23 aggregators, and these aggregators provide us the hotel rates and hotel feeds. So, for example, let's say if you are searching for XYZ hotel on EaseMyTrip, we will compare amongst those 23 aggregators, and whoever is providing the cheapest price, we will only display that cheapest price to you, so that you can go ahead and make the booking on that cheapest price, and we will earn our commissions from that particular aggregator on that price. Now, through this means, we have around 11 lakh hotels listed on our system. Now, and another thing is, the price which you're seeing usually comes out to be cheaper, since we are aggregating and we are comparing against 23 aggregators and showing you the final price. We do not redirect customers from our website to any other website like other companies do. This is not a meta search engine. Neither we do disclose the name of the aggregator to the customers. They are buying from the EaseMyTrip, and EaseMyTrip is a brand. So effectively, they're buying from the EaseMyTrip. However, on the back end, we may buy from the hotel, or we may buy from the aggregator, depending where do we get better prices from. And on the basis of that, we are able to serve our customers better and increase our revenue share from 2.7% to 5.4%. I could talk a little bit about our board. So this is our board. This is what our board constitute right now. Besides the three of us, we have three independent directors in our board. Mr. Vinod Kumar Tripathi has worked in various roles in Reliance Capital and is giving us very solid advice related to finances. Justice Usha Mehra has worked, basically she is retired now, but she was a former member of Law Commission of India. So she helps us with the legal stuff and keeps us in check. And Mr. Satya Prakash. Mr. Satya Prakash has been in the railway sector for the last 40 years. So we get very valuable insights from him in relates to how to scale a company like Railway did. With this, I'd like to conclude the presentation, and I'll hand over mic back to the host. Thank you. We are a consumer company. We would get a lot many more people to basically look out for, and also to vouch for our brand as we get listed. So we will get the dual benefit of creating wealth, basically getting the valuation, getting company valuated, and also we will definitely get tailwinds by being listed.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, your company is well known for not charging convenience fees to your customers. Does this not cut into your profit margin?
That is absolutely correct. We do part away with certain revenues by not charging convenience fees. However, we have learned this business so well that even after not having that revenue, for ourselves, we are still able to manage our costs in such way that we are the only ones profitable. So that's kind of ironic, I understand, but that's the reality we're talking about.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, could you please explain how the employee cost has come down? Have you seen any retrenchment in FY20?
So the employee cost is basically going down as our denominator is increasing. We are a consumer tech company where, the employees and the number of bookings we do should not be correlated. And as we keep growing, we will keep hitting more and more economies of scale, because of which, as we have grown over the period of time, because of which we have hit more and more economies of scale, and because of which our employee cost has decreased over the period of time as a percentage of GMV.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, could you please throw some light on why the EBITDA has almost been flat between FY20 and FY19, despite such a big jump in your top line?
So I think we did mention this. Ashishji, can you please take this answer?
I can reply to this question. Wherein, so what happened in FY 2019, we served Jetaways, so we get commissions from the airline at the end of the financial year. So we served Jetaways for the whole of the year. In March 19, they didn't work out. So the incentive which we have to recover from them, we couldn't recover. And that's why our auditor, being on conservative side, they have not counted that money into account. So that is why you see a flat work.
Correct. So because of the Jet Airways going bust, I wasn't very sure whether we even put that in RHP, but now I remember we did. So Nishant absolutely right, correctly said it, that Jet Airways, we've served Jet Airways for the entire year. And then at the end, around the end period, Jet Airways went bankrupt, because of which there were certain commissions which they owed us, but we didn't even book it because we knew that commission we will not get.
Thank you so much. Coming to the next question. The question reads, the Indian travel industry is expected to decrease at a 2% CAGR over FY20 to 23. Moreover, the air travel growth momentum is set to decline by 1.5% CAGR. So, how do you see the company planning to expand in this contracting market?
Well, firstly, we did not grow primarily because the industry was growing. Our growth rate has been very considerably very high compared to what the industry growth was, and we wish to continue to eat the market share of other OTAs by providing customer services, by giving them an option of not charging convenience fees. As a country like India, where people are extremely price sensitive, we believe that if our pricing is right, people will come to us. We just have to manage our cost in a better fashion. So that strategy will continue for the company.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, we claim to be the second largest OTA in India in terms of booking volume. So what is the company's market share in online air ticket booking? Also, could you kindly explain the claims written back line item that comes under other income? Is this recurring and how is this generated?
Sure. So to be honest, we may not be able to give a number of our market share on the OTA perspective, from the OTA perspective. However, as you can see that our growth is pretty consistent for the last 2 years, from FY18 till FY20. We grew pretty consistently at a CAGR of 47%. We will let you do more research around it to get the answer of our market share. The second question you asked is about the claims written back. Yes, it's a line item which is in our other income, and I'm happy to explain it. So in the cases where we as a company also charge cancellation service fees. Besides airline, we also charge cancellation service fees, just like all our competitor does. Now, whenever we are supposed to give refund to the customer, sometimes the refund amount becomes negative because of our own 300 rupees cancellation service fees. Now we keep that money as a liability on the company for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, we call it as unclaimed credit, which is pretty much the net off of our cancellation service fees. Now, in a way, you could say that that's the money which is deferred and comes to our books 2 years later. And since that money comes 2 years later and not in the same financial year, our auditor, who is EY, has taken a stringent view to put it in other income section. And it's a regular income, and it will continue in the future as well.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, do you have inventory of local air tickets, or is it a spot purchase?
So we don't hold any inventory. So it's the spot purchase. We have integrated airline servers with our servers. So they talk to each other. Whenever a customer makes a demand on our website, it automatically goes to airline, hits their server, get the price. And if customer go ahead and make the payment, it automatically get confirmed at the same moment. So we don't hold any inventory.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, what's the difference between the B2C and the B2B2C model? And what percentage of revenue comes from the huge travel agent network that you have?
So, as I mentioned in the beginning of the slide, around 10% of our business is B2B right now, which is the travel agent, and remaining is B2C. And only 2.7% is a corporate business. Now, the revenue stream is the same. It's just that instead of giving some discount to the customers, we are giving some commissions to the travel agents for them to continue using EaseMatter. That's the difference between B2B and B2C and B2B2C. B2C is primarily the travel agent network, which is using us to make air tickets for their customers.
Thank you so much, sir. Coming to the next question, do you plan to continue with your option of giving up the convenience fees?
Okay, so that's a forward-looking statement. However, I would tell what the basis of the company is. The basis of the company is to keep the cost low and offer a great service at a great price to the consumer, and we will continue to do our best with that model.
Thank you. The next question reads, how sustainable is the margin of 9 months FY21?
Again, that's a forward-looking statement, and unfortunately, we would not be able to say anything on it.
Thank you so much. The next question reads, in such a competitive industry where all other players are suffering a loss, what has been so different with your company that makes you profitable?
Well, as I said in the beginning, it's the start which matters. The culture of the company matters, and the culture of the company which we have built together as three brothers is basically to be frugal. We understand this is a low margin industry, but only if you can manage your cost very well, you can bring a lot of money to the EBITDA, and that is exactly what we have been doing. We use convenience fees as a tool to keep people using EaseMyTrip by not charging it, and also grow virally via word of mouth by not charging it. And while all the other costs, we keep it at control.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the next question. The question reads, could you please talk about the rupees 174 cost of customer acquisition? Is it the cost you pay to get the app installed? And what is the customer LTV value?
So I would not be able to comment what the LTV value is since it's not a part of the DRHP. However, the customer cost of acquisition is the total money which we spent last year on marketing divided by the total new users we gained. It's not directly proportionate, or it's not even related to the app install. It's just total money we spent on marketing divided by total new customers which we have gotten during that fiscal year.
Thank you, sir. There's been a small follow-up to one of your previous answers. The question is that not holding the inventory as mentioned, is it a disadvantage or virtually immaterial?
Well, I think the status quo in air travel is that most of us just book it as we get the order. I don't think so. The industry itself does not hold the inventory, and even if somebody does, it's a liability to the company, right? At the core of us, we are extremely asset light company, and we wish to remain the same way.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, do you have any corporate clients? And if so, do they have any additional advantages or benefits?
We do have corporate clients. 2.7% of our business is corporate business for FY20. We do have many well-reputed corporate clients. And of course, they do get some additional benefits at additional cost. And most of these additional cost and additional benefits are provided from the airlines directly, depending on how large that corporate client is. So those discounts, those additional fees are charged to the corporate, while also the benefit also goes to the corporate. So that is the interest of the corporate to continue using a corporate account.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, why did the EBITDA margin increase in 9 months of FY21?
Well, there are multiple reasons, and some of the reasons, at least I can say, is that during the COVID times, we knew that there will be very less business as usual distraction. So we utilize this time to put our heads down and be even more efficient than before. So to give you an idea, we during the COVID times, when we realized that picking calls of customers was getting very difficult, not just for us, even for our competitors and for the entire industry, we decided to do something about it, and we did something industry first, which is instead of calling us, we allowed customers to message us on WhatsApp. And customer just needed to message on our number 9990330 number, and that message would come to our agent on the panel. So agent will see that message on the panel and will be able to reply to it. So through this means, we were able to get the dual benefits. One was, our cost of our staff, our call center staff efficiency increased dramatically, because earlier there was one agent was able to speak to one customer at a time. But now one agent can chat with multiple people simultaneously, while also adding to customer delight. Like, as a customer, why would you want to be on hold for 15-20 minutes to get the answer? Isn't it better off for a customer to just drop a message on WhatsApp, continue watching their Netflix or whatever, and get the answer half an hour later? So with this, we were also able to create this image in the market that EaseMyTrip was available 24/7 to solve customers' query on WhatsApp as well. This is just one of the examples, since I think we have put it in the RH.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, why is the retail allocation only at 10%? Also, what was the rupees 29 crore advance written off in FY18 from the EBITDA?
Can I ask one of our bankers to talk about the 10% retail, allocation, please?
Yeah, hi. This is Akhil. So, as per the ICDR regulations, there is an average requirement for profitability, due to which the bifurcation changes. Given that the company has been profitable, but there were certain adjustments that the company needed to make in the past years, in the preceding 3 years, due to which the reported restated profit, operating profit, was at a slight in the negative, due to which we had to resort to the 6(2) of the ICDR regulation, and therefore, which prescribes that the QIB, the institutional portion for the IPO is 75%, the HNI portion is 15%, and the balance 10% is for retail. That's the only reason.
All right, and I like to take the answer. I like to answer the other question, that what was that write-off of 29 crore rupees. So EaseMyTrip, historically in year 2000, historically we used to promote EaseMyTrip within the movies, and later on we got some offers from producers saying that if we could loan the money to them, they'd be able to promote EaseMyTrip within the movies, and give us our principal back 6 months later. So we basically did a couple of those deals in year 2015 and 16. And later on, we realized that if the movie is hit, we get our money back. But if the movies flop, the money stops. So back in FY18, we took a call to discontinue this operations completely. And whatever money which was to be recovered as loans to the movie producers, we call it as a write-off. And some of that money is already received in FY19 and 20. However, lessons are learned that there are no free lunches in the world. And since last 3.5 years, there has been no such activity in the company. And we have also added a line in article of association stating that this company will no longer be able to do any other activity besides the travel business.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, what are the growth drivers for the business going ahead? And what is the company planning to do, being so high on the cash balance sheet?
So I'll answer the latter part first, which is what is the company planning to do with such high, cash in the bank account. Historically, we have not had any dividend policy in the company, so there is no dividend which any of us has taken out from the company. Hence, the company is so cash rich, and the company has 208 crores of cash and FD sitting in the bank account, which we were able to utilize during the lockdown period by giving refund to people. So it turned out to be a great strategy. Going forward, we are contemplating of having a dividend policy. Not sure about that yet. And what was the first question? You can repeat.
Thank you so much, sir. The first part was about the growth drivers of the business going forward.
All right, all right. So as I mentioned during the presentation, the growth drivers are primarily continuing and sustaining our air segment growth. And also, as we mentioned, that we want to focus on hotel and holiday segment, which we were able to grow from 2.7% to 5.4% because we have started really focusing deeply in that particular vertical since last 2-3 years.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, if we exclude the other income, then the company's EBITDA is in the negative in 2 out of the 4 reported financial years. Could you please throw some light on that?
As I mentioned, that the UAC component, which we believe is a core to the company, it's basically nothing but cancellation service fees which we earn. That goes into other income because that money we get, it gets deferred and comes towards 2 years later. So at the company level, we believe there is a good chunk of money in other income, which should be part of our revenue from operations. But due to statutory purposes, it gets reported in the other income. So I hope I'm able to answer that question.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the next question, you do not charge a convenience fee, but 50% of the EBITDA is generated from claims written back, which is essentially a cancellation fee. Is the no convenience fee just a marketing tool? Also, 20% of the EBITDA is generated from interest income and 50% from claims write back. How do you justify the pricing on core earnings?
So we do not charge convenience fees, but we do charge cancellation service fees, and they both are very different line items. They have nothing in common and no relationship whatsoever. When you are booking an air ticket, there is no additional fees which you are paying. But if you are canceling a ticket, just like every other OTA, EaseMyTrip also charges cancellation service fees. And what was the second question?
The second question was 20% EBITDA generated from interest income and 50% is from claims write back. How do you justify the pricing on core earnings?
So claims written, if you look, so basically in the EBITDA, a lot of things get already netted off. You should not look at UAC or our other income, our interest income on the basis of EBITDA, but you should look at a percentage of our total revenues or total income to get the clarity of what that percentage is. The way you're probably portraying is deceiving because in a way, it's got nothing to do with the EBITDA. What you could probably say is that this is our total income and this is how much we earn from the UAC component. And that point probably would be valid. I hope my point is well taken with no hard feelings.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, how much advance does the travel agent need to keep with you to manage the ticket inventory? And what is this advance amount in 9 months of FY21?
So a travel agent need not put, to be honest, it's a prerogative of travel agent of how much money he wants to put in advance in our account, depending on how much amount of booking he wants to make. So some may just want to put 5,000 rupees and use that 5,000 by booking a ticket right there and then. On some may want to put 50,000 rupees and use it over the period of 2-3 days time. On how much of that money is in our bank account, I'll let Ashiji answer that.
So yeah, that we have a received customer advance of about 22 crore in 9 month end, and it includes B2C and B2B also.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, are you intending to get hotels directly listed on your website and moving away from the aggregators? And currently, what is the percentage from own direct hotel linkages? Will it mean an increase in costs?
So we are happy with the way our business model is working right now. It is giving us good yields. and we are able to manage it in a very cost-effective manner. So I do not see the reason of us making a shift. And what percentage is direct versus with the aggregator? I don't think so. That's the number we have reported. So unfortunately, I will not be able to discuss.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, do you have any plan in the future to merge or create a strategic alliance?
It would be a forward-looking statement, which unfortunately I will not be able to answer. The core of the company will remain the same to continue the business in which makes sense unit economics and which is profitable.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, IRCTC Air also has a very minimal convenience fee. Do you think that that could pose as a threat to your model, given that one of our key USPs is that we do not charge a convenience fee?
Well, again, I cannot speak for the IRCTC. I can only tell you some facts. So IRCTC earlier did not used to charge convenience fees, and now they have added some convenience fees. So I guess they are also going in the other direction, like all others did. And also the customer mix is very different. The ones who are flying and the technology difference also exists. For that, you'll have to experience IRCTC website and EaseMyTrip to be able to compare. And I'll leave that better judgment on yourself.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, what are the arrangements with companies like OYO Rooms or similar companies to that? And what is the benefit or the disadvantage by foregoing such arrangements?
OYO, I believe, is listed as one of the aggregators on EaseMyTrip.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the next question, what is the minimum commitment that you provide to air operators? Also, if you could please once again share the mix of your business segment.
There is no minimum commitment which we provide. However, we do get some of the incentives on the basis of what volume do we do on the annual basis or quarterly basis or half yearly basis. And the mix, as I said earlier, is 2.7% is corporate, around 10.7% is B2B, and 86.5% is B2C, which is direct consumers.
Thank you so much. The next question reads, could you please explain the valuation of the IPO? Also, what is the cash flow that has been generated over the last 2 years? And are we generating a free cash flow?
Bankers, please.
So, let me take this question. So for the valuation of the company, in the Indian market, we don't have any comparable company. The only other player which is meaningful, obviously, in Indian market is MakeMyTrip. But fortunately or unfortunately, they are not profitable. So what we have done for valuation is essentially we have looked at the international global players who are profitable. So largely 3 companies, Expedia, Booking, and Ctrip, who are PAT positive companies, right, and have shown decent growth. While the growth is still cannot be matched with the EaseMyTrip, but we have used their 1-year forward multiple to value EaseMyTrip largely.
And to say the second question, the cash flow has been generated through the retained earning only, because in our company, working capital requirement is minimum and there's not much investing and the finance activity. So whatever the cash has been built over the period, it has been through retained earning.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, do you extend any credit to your corporate customers?
Yes, corporate clients work on credit, and we work with very good names, and we do extend credit to them, and they pay us service fees in lieu of that extension of credit. However, as a company, we try to not to give credit to the ones who are not very well known, and we ensure that the credit is only given to the ones by looking at their books and by judging on the basis of that. We do offer credit services. However, it's only 2.7% of our entire business.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the next question, the question reads, as claims written back are core part of the revenue, what does it mean that if the lower number of people cancel tickets, your EBITDA would fall? And what is the cancellation fee that you charge?
We charge 300 rupees as cancellation fees, and the cancellation we see is the part of the industry now. So that's just the nature of the people to book and cancel, and it's an industry standard.
And to add this, if the less cancellation, the people travel more, I believe. So we will receive the more revenue from the airlines on the sale. I don't think they will double it.
That makes sense.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, do you receive any incentives from the airlines? Also, how do you book train tickets? Is it through IRCTC? And how much is the percentage of rail booking that you do?
So, of course, there is a commission which we get from the airlines, domestic and international group. We also get certain commissions from the GDS, which is the likes of Amadeus and Galileo, and which adds up to our margins, and that is why we are profitable. Rail business is very limited for us, and yes, in order to book rail tickets on EasyMyTrip, just like anywhere else, you would need your IRCTC login. So that happens on EasyMyTrip as well, just like anywhere else.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, if your competition decides not to charge convenience fees like you, do you think that customers would still stick to your platform?
Basically, it's not that we did this overnight and we got the tag of no convenience fees. It's the demonstration of last 10 years. By giving people an option to not to pay convenience fees, we have received the tag of being known in the market as no convenience fees guys. And if our competition decides to drop convenience fees, which historically you can look where their convenience fees are going, they will have to, at least from my best guess is that if we were to do it, that we were charging convenience fees and then we had to drop it, we probably would have to reinvent everything. We had to reinvent our all costings, whether it's on the employee side, marketing side, our discounting side, our admin side, to be able to grow and sustain by not charging convenience fees. It's almost like reinventing the company in our eyes.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, who do you consider as the global comparable peers to you?
I think as Naveen already answered that question, we compare ourselves amongst the people who are the key marquee names and also are profitable and are very profit driven companies like ourselves. So Naveen has already shared those names with me.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, do you have refunds to be made to any customers? Also, do you have any dues receivables, refunds due from airlines?
So, refunding customer is a business as usual. We of course would have, as the customer would be canceling right now, and some money would have come from the airline. So clearly there will be a line item where some money we have to refer to the customers. The second question I let Ashishji answer, who's our CFO.
What was the second question?
The second part of the question reads, do you have any dues receivable, refunds due from the airlines?
Yeah, see, in normal practice, we apply the refund, and whenever the refund we receive from the airlines, and we book it in the financial. Till then, it's in the record only. So, being an agent, we book the refund as and when we receive from the airlines. So there is no refund receivable from the airlines.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, why have other players like MakeMyTrip and Yatra not been able to make consistent profits? What is it that's making you different from them?
it'd be very hard for me to speak for anybody else. I can only speak for ourselves. And from the day one of this company, the core tenet of the company has been to do everything profitably and to grow, but not at the cost of profitability. And hence, we evolved over the period last 11 years to cut our employee cost, to cut our admin cost to such extent that we come out profitable even without charging convenience fees. So that core tenet will remain with the company, and we look forward to serving Indian consumers by providing the best price option at the cheapest cost available in the market.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question reads, there are a lot of changes on ground in today's time with regards to COVID. So how do we stand to benefit versus local agents who can provide on-ground requirements and details about travel?
So we believe that because of the COVID and pandemic, you could say fortunately or unfortunately, the tide is moving more towards online than offline. So that is where the sense is, and we believe that as a company, we may gain the OTA industry, not just the company, but the OTA industry probably will see more usage because of the pandemic in the futures ahead. I'm talking about in terms of long-term view.
Thank you so much. The next question reads, could you please throw some light on the objective of the IPO?
Absolutely. So since we mentioned that, it's been 13 years, we have never taken any dividends from the company. That is why the company is cash rich. Clearly, of course, we want to generate some wealth for ourselves, and we are also diluting the bare minimum requirement as per what the advice we have received from the bankers. And the idea is that with this, we should be able to gain a good tailwind by being known in the market like what's happening right now. Since we spend very little on marketing anyways. So we believe that, even though we spend very little amount of marketing, some customers might feel that there's a friction. Some customers might have a friction to pay to EaseMyTrip because we are not very well known brand, even though we are second largest already. So we believe by getting listed, we should be able to get tailwinds from the IPO.
Thank you so much, sir. Coming to the next question. The question reads, the salary cost has come down in an absolute number to 14 crores in 9 months versus 30 crores for the last year. Could you please explain that?
So part of it was basically what you're saying is from 15 crores to 20 crores. If you compare absolute 9 month to 9 months, right? Something like that. Now, yes, we did ask a couple of key managements to take the salary cut in the beginning of the COVID, which is reinstated later on. And also, as I mentioned, that we were able to do a lot of optimization work because of which we were able to do a lot of things automatically rather than be more human driven. So we utilized this time, the COVID period. We knew there'll be less business as usual and hence less distraction. We realized this time to basically do as much as automation work as possible, and because of which we did see some benefits come from that automation work.
Thank you, sir. The next question reads, according to your balance sheet and the DRHP, you mentioned providing loans of about 33 crores in 2019 and 2020. Could you please throw some light on that?
So those were the advances. We tried to move on to a new premises and to buy a office space in central part of Delhi, which we later decided not to do it. So that's why the advance was given and it has been recovered fully as on 31st December.
And to add to that, our company does not have any rental cost. The office space where we are currently functioning is owned by the company, so that there is no rental cost. And these are the small things which we do, unlike our competitors who have Sunkist of the offices, multiple offices all across India. We run a very tight ship to remain profitable.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the next question, The question reads, the business currently looks like it's in an autopilot mode. What are we doing to grow to the next level apart from air ticket and hotel booking?
Well, I wish it was on autopilot mode and we didn't have to work the way we do. And we wish that day comes. However, that's very, very far from the reality. We do have to put our sweat and blood into it. We continuously did for the last 13 years, and we would continue to do that. Now, even more in the interest of our stakeholders.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll be taking the last couple of questions. At the risk of sounding a little repetitive, I'll just ask the next question, please. The question reads, what is the arrangement with the hospitality service providers like your hotels, taxis, and other agents? Also, what is the average discount rate and total amount of such benefits that you provide in your business model?
Well, we have spoken about it earlier that the arrangement varies. For the hotels, we do not do any pre-booking. Let's put it that way. The company has never done any pre-booking in the past, where we take on some liability and pressure of selling it. We want to do things at our own terms. We like to do it that way, and we will continue to do it. So the arrangements, whenever they are, it's usually the contracts on the basis of commission, which is if we sell them, we'll be getting some commissions from that, which is mostly the industry standard. And I don't remember your second question now.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay.
So while most of the other questions are a little repetitive in nature, we will refrain from getting into those again. I would now like to invite Mr. Akhil Kejriwal from Axis Capital Limited to go ahead with the vote of thanks, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we're all enlightened and equally enthused by the Ease My Trip story. Sorry. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this IPO. And I would like to thank the management for answering almost 50 questions, which have also been slightly difficult, but they've answered it to the detail as far as possible. The management has met up with multiple investors across the globe. And one thing we can definitely share with you is that the kind of response that we have received for this from marquee global investors just emphasizes our confidence that a deal like this will always be welcomed by investors, irrespective of market conditions. I would again like to reiterate that the key deal specs for you all. The issue will open on the 8th of March and closes on the 10th of March. The price band for the IPO is INR 186 to 187. And of course, we look forward to your participation in this IPO and to make it a grand success. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank everyone for joining the virtual brokers and analyst meet of Easy Trip Planners Limited for their forthcoming IPO. While we understand that there would have been some questions left unanswered, we would request you to feel free to reach out to us and email us at ipo@easemytrip.com or ipo@adfactorspr.com. And we will definitely do our best to revert to all your queries within the next 48 hours. Thank you and stay safe.